25% off all regular priced items. This week, that's right, 25% off regular priced MTSU tees, polos, sweats, hats, and more. Online shoppers get 25% off at checkout by using the code SPRING. It's the Raider Tees 25% off spring sale through Saturday. They're located at 910 Ridgely Road. Just turn off Broad between Chewy's and Chili's.
Rutherford Issues with Brian Barrett on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and streaming at WGNSradio.com.
Rutherford Issues, powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. Rutherford County's 22nd Annual Earth Day celebration is coming up April 22nd, 10 a.m. to 2 on the Murfreesboro Square. MTE will be providing free hot dogs and popcorn. The electric griddle food truck will be there serving up gourmet grilled cheese. So don't miss this. Free fun for the whole family April 22nd on the square. Our friends from Legal Aid Society are here today. Linda Blackwelder is a family law attorney, and Ashley Ortega, victims advocate and paralegal, joining us today. And our topic of conversation will be Sexual Assault Awareness Month here in April. But first of all, Linda, good to have you.
Good morning. It's nice to be here.
Same here. And Ashley, glad you can join us.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Well, we have had... I think, Linda, you mentioned that you had been on a time or two, but I think this is Ashley's first time. Would that be right?
Yes.
Okay. Nervous or anything?
A little bit, yes.
Little, yeah.
I can talk. I'm good at talking, but not in certain situations like this.
It's just the three of us here having a conversation, so it'll be fun. Maybe, Linda, start us off by talking about Sexual Assault Awareness Month and maybe how the Legal Aid Society is part of that and what you do to help bring awareness.
All righty. Yeah, so I'm the family law attorney here at the Legal Aid Society office. I practice strictly in family law. My clientele is limited to persons who are victims of domestic violence and also sexual assault. That includes a lot of orders of protection that helps abusers get free. Their victims get free of their abusers, and I also help do divorces. And we work closely with other agencies in the area and across the state to get the word out about our services and about the services that other agencies have. And April is the Sexual Assault Awareness Month here. And Ashley can tell you a lot more about that. Ashley is my paralegal and victims advocate. Mm-hmm. She helps our clients with things besides legal issues. She helps them with identify resources in the community that can help them with some other problems they may be having, and also occasionally accompanies them to court. We don't practice criminal law at all at Legal Aid, but often our clients have criminal cases that are running alongside with their civil case. For example, if their husband or their abuser has been arrested and charged with domestic assault. So Ashley helps them kind of deal with some of the issues around that. Mm-hmm. And so I like to let Ashley kind of tell us a little bit more about Sexual Assault Awareness Month and what she does.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Yeah, so basically Sexual Assault Awareness Month calls attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and impacts any person in the community. Two things this month. On April 4th, it was Wear Teal Day, so basically you're just letting the victims know that you're there to support them, that you believe them, that they're not alone, and you're there just to support them. And then April 29th will be Denim Day. So this began 20 years ago after the Italian Supreme Court overturned a rape conviction because the justices felt that the victim was wearing tight jeans, and so she must have helped him remove the jeans from her. So basically us wearing jeans just lets them know that it doesn't matter what you're wearing, you can still be a victim of sexual assault.
And didn't that occur in some other country or something?
Yeah, that was in Italy.
Okay,
yeah,
that's what I thought.
So it's been a long time. But yeah, so that's the reason why we wear denim on that day. And like I said, I'm a victim advocate, so I help with victims with anything that they may need. Sometimes it may be just being their support system, because I might be the only person that they have to listen to. Sometimes it means, going to court with them, supporting them. Some days I'm out, giving them resources on, helping them with food stamps to get food, anything that they may need, help them, maybe find housing, anything, whatever may be that, to help them obtain safety and independence from their abuser.
I I guess it's been a couple of weeks now. We had Domestic Violence Sexual Assault Services on, and we were talking about April Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and I'm sure that's one of the many agencies that you really kind of work together as some of those resources that you use that we have here in our community.
Yeah, sometimes I, partner with the Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Center here in Murfreesboro. Sometimes I send them to Greenhouse Ministry. Sometimes I go, to Office of Family Safety and talk to the people at the YMWCA, or even in Cannon County, they have a safe shelter. So, we all kind of work together because at the end of the day, we're here to help the same group of people.
Sure. Do you see people within the office, and Linda, you could chime in here as well, that don't know really where that first step is, and you find out that there's some abuse going on, but they don't know what to do to get out? It's like a vicious cycle.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they don't realize that they are a victim themselves, because they've been manipulated so much. But yeah, definitely, like, sometimes they call just for, just to ask questions about like the legal system and what steps they can take, and I let them know, all their, all the, I guess, the rights that they have. So whether that be like, letting them know about in order protection, or letting them know that, there's shelters and places to go, resources. Sometimes it's hard for them to leave because, they have children, they're not financially stable, they don't have a car, they don't have a job. So sometimes I might take that step to help them get those things first before we help them with anything else.
We have joining us today from Legal Aid Society, Linda Blackwelder, family law attorney, and Ashley Ortega, victims advocate and paralegal. And Linda, I think when and I said this when Amy was on a few weeks back too, when you hear the term Legal Aid Society, you think that that's just a group of lawyers getting together or something like that, but that's far from it. And there are many things that the Legal Aid Society does, and this is just one of those.
That's correct. And we are a private law firm, but we are funded through grants, some government grants, but also private donations. And we do serve mostly low-income persons in the community. We have attorneys that practice in consumer law, tax law, housing law, education, health and benefits. I'm probably leaving some things out. My focus on family law is funded through the Victims of Crime Act, and so my practice area is limited to victims of crime, in this case domestic abuse. And I should clarify, I said domestic violence earlier, but domestic abuse encompasses a lot more than just domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
And Ashley, I think, had prepared some notes on talking about the power and control. Mm-hmm. And so that's, again, she mentioned sometimes people don't really recognize that they're a victim of abuse. Maybe their spouse or a partner has never physically assaulted them, but they have controlled every aspect of their lives. Mm-hmm. They cut them off from their family and friends. They control the finances, and can create a situation where the person does feel powerless. And so you're right, it is difficult sometimes for those people to even understand that, number one, they are a victim of abuse, and number two, what resources are available to help them. And so this is a great opportunity for us to kind of put the word out that we're out there. And I think I also wanted to mention, as far as my work goes, I mentioned most of our clients are low-income persons. But if you're a victim of crime and you're a victim of domestic abuse, those issues, we're not limited by income in those cases necessarily, because sometimes someone may be in a household whose income exceeds our normal income limits, but they don't have access to those funds. And so we have the availability to help, at least in those types of cases, persons that might not qualify for some of our other services.
We have joining us Linda Blackwelder with Legal Aid Society, family law attorney, and Ashley Ortega, victims advocate and paralegal. And I guess it's important to kind of go back and actually understand the difference between domestic violence and domestic abuse, and that's kind of where you all you can help explain that a little better, I think.
So domestic abuse is a wide range of things. So it can be anywhere from just verbal abuse, being putting you down, financial abuse, not providing them with any money, making them ask them for money, acting like they don't have any money when essentially they do have, not putting them on the accounts, not putting them on the house. Emotional abuse, like I said, obviously physical, sexual abuse. Because it's a variety of things. Sometimes they often gaslight them. It's a huge variety of things. And like I said, just want to say everything is confidential, so anybody can reach out to us and let us know if they just want to talk and explain their situation, and I will define what level of abuse that is, and just safety plan with them and all of that.
Power and control, that was a couple of words that I wrote down when Linda was talking about that, and that could be many things, as you just kind of detailed as a definition for domestic abuse.
Yeah, so power and control, basically they use intimidation, emotional abuse. They isolate you, control where you go, often can make you lose your job. They minimize or deny what they did and try to gaslight you and say, it was because you did this and because you did that. They often use children as abuse, and sometimes if they're already separated, they won't let them see their kids, and they won't let them talk to them, or try to control about what time they pick them up and this and that. They use sometimes if the men are the abusers, they use their male privilege to assert domination and their roles and what they're supposed to do. Economic abuse, coerce them or threaten them many times. If you leave, I'm going to do this. If you leave, I'm going to commit suicide. If you leave, I'll hurt you, I'll find you wherever you go. I'll if you try to take me to court to divorce me, I'm going to quit my job. You're not going to get anything, things like that. Mm-hmm. So it's a range of things as well. Yeah,
it really sounds like it is. And with this being Sexual Assault Awareness Month, Linda, you and Ashley can maybe talk a bit more about this as well. But I think there's a misconception that sexual assault is just rape, but it also falls into a category where it can be a lot of things too.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. And I want to point out one thing I'm grateful for, because it hasn't been terribly long, and I couldn't tell you how many years, where there was no such thing as sexual assault as a crime in a marriage. That there was no such thing as marital rape. That thankfully is no longer true, but I do believe that some people still feel that way about it. So it's obvious that you can be a victim of sexual assault even if your assaulter is your spouse. And as far as the impact of that, I know I wanted to emphasize something else Ashley said too, and she mentioned that children are often involved in these situations, and they often do. I've seen this many times in my practice, where one reason someone will stay in an abusive relationship is because their spouse has convinced them that if they leave, they're not going to be able to take their children with them or ever see their children again. And so that's definitely part of the power and control cycle that we see often. And another thing I think about often when I speak to people about what I do, the question I get most often is, well, why would somebody stay in a relationship like that? And I always ask them to reframe that a little bit and think more about not what the victim's doing, but think, why is that abuser doing why is the abuser being abusive? So don't blame the victim, put the blame where it belongs, on the abuser. There are many reasons why people stay in these relationships, and really the primary one I see most often is because of the children.
Yeah.
And it takes many times, sometimes, Ashley, for someone to, maybe they ask questions, but it could take a number of times before they actually go through with a successfully leaving the abuser.
Yeah,
I guess.
On average, it takes a victim 7 times to leave before staying away for good. And oftentimes that's the most dangerous time for the victim, because they will often act, in dangerous ways to regain control of their victim, because them leaving is them losing the control. So, stalking is also one thing that, doesn't get talked about as much. Stalking is one of the biggest things. I've seen the abusers, clone their phones and put tags on their cars to locate them and show up to everywhere that they're at. They're following them. They're contacting families and friends to get a hold of them. They're showing up at their jobs, everything that they can do to intimidate them and to try to get them to come back. So like I said, leaving is probably one of the most dangerous times for them. And oftentimes why I always try to get them to get orders of protection before anything, because I just want to make for sure that, first of all, they're safe, and that's why I do safety planning with them, and that entails like a variety of different things, also depending on their situation. If they live in maybe apartments, let the apartment manager know, let the neighbors know how to leave quickly. Make sure you have your keys, phone, wallet somewhere where it's easy for you to access them. Park in reverse sometimes, so that way you can leave quickly. Have an emergency to go bag. Make sure your important documents and things like that are somewhere that the abuser cannot reach them.
You mentioned tags, and it made me think of like the Apple AirTag, and you can. I have one on my dog's collar, so you can know where they are. But technology is, back in the day, that was like putting GPS on a car, and you could track someone, and it was kind of a tough thing to get your hands on. But now it's so easy, and you don't know. People
have AirTags. I've seen someone put a tracker inside of like a little black box and put it under like the car. One of my victims, she didn't know until she went to get her tires checked that's how her husband was tracking her and following her around. So yeah, it's very actually we have a stalking clinic coming up here on March 16th in Nashville. And
March 16th or
May 16th.
May,
I apologize.
okay.
May 16th. I believe it's from 4:30 to 7:30.
I think so, yes.
I'll have to check on the time for that. But we're going to have Metro Police actually there checking people's cars for, any types of trackers or anything like that. And, we have attorneys that are going to be there to provide information that they need about stalking, because stalking is not talked about, and for many years it wasn't seen as a crime, or it's just sometimes it's very hard to prove that. And so, that's why we're having that clinic. And so we'd like to get the word out and have more people come, because people don't realize, people don't realize the resources and what they have out there to help them.
Well, I'll be sure to get with you, and we'll promote that information about that clinic coming up in May. And it's been really good to have you here today. Thanks so much for stopping in.
Thanks for having us.
Our guest from Legal Aid Society today, Linda Blackwelder and Ashley Ortega. And don't forget, if you missed part of the program, you can check the podcast. It's at WGNSradio.com.
Greetings, friends. This is Lenny Farmer with the Jennings & Ayers Funeral Home in Murfreesboro. If you ever had to deal with the final arrangements of a loved one, funerals are both emotional and financial. You can easily be drained both ways when you least expect it. I can help you in both of these areas by showing you the positive side of pre-arranging. Locking in your cost for the rest of your life will truly relieve some emotional stress at that time. Call me, won't you, at 615-893-2422. Let's talk.
It's time for a look at today's obituaries. Miss Jenny Berlene Collier passed away April the 1st. Visitation with the family Saturday, April 15th, 11 a.m. till 12 p.m. at Scales & Sons Funeral Home. Celebration of Life will also be on Saturday, 12 p.m. at the funeral home. These are the arrangements today for Miss Jenny Berlene Collier. Brittany Nicole Johns passed away April the 9th, Sunday. She leaves a host of devoted family members and friends to cherish her memory. The arrangements are incomplete at this time, and the completed obituaries will be forthcoming. Please keep the family of Miss Brittany Nicole Johns in your thoughts and prayers. Arrangements entrusted to Scales & Sons Funeral Home. Ishmael Lee Bowles passed away April the 7th. Visitation with the family will be Saturday, April the 15th, 11 a.m. till 12 p.m. at First Baptist Church on East Castle Street. Celebration of Life, Saturday, April the 15th, 12 p.m. at First Baptist Church. Services of committal and interment, Evergreen Cemetery. These are the arrangements today for Ishmael Lee Bowles, Scales & Sons, in charge of these services. Mr. Angel Aguilar, age 69, passed away on Friday, April the 7th. There are no services at this time. Keep the Aguilar family in your thoughts and prayers. Arrangements entrusted to J.C. Hallam Funeral Home, for Mr. Angel Aguilar. I am Steve Thornton.
Murfreesboro Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
People that come in to pre-plan their funerals and put it down in writing makes it a whole lot easier on the children at the time of their death.
Keith Stapleton, manager of the Murfreesboro Funeral Home. Visit murfreesborofuneralhome.com.
Roselyn Esmeralda Sorda Alfaro, age 17, of Smyrna, passed away as a result of injuries from an automobile accident. She was born in Nashville and was a senior at Smyrna High School and would have graduated with her classmates in May. Survivors include her parents, Juan and Selena Sorto of Smyrna, brothers Juan Carlos Sorto Jr., and Emmanuel Sorto, a sister, Alice Sorto. Visitation with the Sorto family will be Friday, April the 14th from 5 until 10.